This is UTS Library's video on how to find the critical dates and amendment history of a piece of Australian legislation. We'll be showing you how to do this using a variety of different databases. First, we'll be looking for the Family Law Act 1975 from the Federal Register of Legislation. When we look up an act, we generally see the current version, including all amendments that have been made to the Act over time. This is called the consolidated version. For a Commonwealth Act, we can normally find the details of how and when these amendments were made in the Endnotes section of the Act, which can be found at the very end of the Act. Choose the last plus sign to expand the final section and keep on doing this until we find the Endnotes. Endnote 2 gives all the abbreviations used within the Endnotes. This is useful because sometimes the abbreviations' meanings are not obvious. Now scroll down to Endnote 3. This is the legislation history, sometimes called the Table of Legislation or Table of Amending Instruments. The first entry at the top of the table is the Principal Act itself. Here you will find its dates of assent and commencement. Note that the provisions of an Act do not always commence at the same time. The rest of the table lists all the acts that have amended our Principal Act from earliest to latest. For each amending Act, the table shows the dates when each amending Act was assented and when each of its provisions commenced. We could scroll down to Endnote 4, but instead we'll select the link in the table of contents on the left. This takes us to the Amendment History table, also called the Table of Amendments. In some jurisdictions, these are called History Notes. Here we find a list of all the provisions of our Principal Act in numerical order. For each provision, we find information on how it has been modified over time and by which amending acts. Understanding the abbreviations here is important. If you are not sure, remember that Endnote 2 will explain them. You'll see that the names of the amending acts are not given, only their year and number. To find the name of an amending act, we need to note down its year and number, and then refer back to the list of amending acts in Endnote 3. Let's have a look at some recent amendments to Section 4, which is the interpretation section of our Principal Act. This section has been amended recently by Act number 129 of 2017 and by Acts number 97 and 130 of 2018. Endnote 3 shows that Act number 129 of 2017 is called the Marriage Amendment Definition and Religious Freedoms Act of 2017, and we can see the relevant commencement dates. This Act can then be found in the Federal Register to see how it affected Section 4 of the Family Law Act. Other databases have slightly different ways of accessing the endnotes of an Act, but you can often find them by expanding the last section repeatedly until you see them. In some databases, the amending acts are hyperlinked and can be easily accessed. Law 1. In the Law 1 database, find an Act and select the Key Info button. Historical versions of the Act are found using the Historical Consolidations link. Amending acts are listed in the Table of Legislation and are usually hyperlinked. Key dates such as assent and commencement are given at the top of this table. The Table of Amendments lists the provisions of the Act and how each has been amended over time. Wales legislation. In New South Wales legislation, first find an Act. Here we are going to use the Civil Liability Act 2002. Use the point-in-time graphic to find previous compilations of the Act. Select Legislative History at the top. Select Original Legislation to see the key dates for the Principal Act. Select Amending Legislation to see the list of amending acts with the dates of assent and commencement for each. Click on the links for more details. Underneath Amending Legislation is History Notes. Here you can see how and when each provision of the Civil Liability Act has been changed by the amending legislation over time. As before, only the years and numbers of the amending acts are provided. You'll need to note these down and look up the full titles in the Amending Legislation section. Use the key symbol on the top right-hand side to find what the abbreviations mean. At the bottom of the page, you will find details about the original bill that created the Act, with links to a PDF version and any explanatory notes. For some acts in some jurisdictions, there is no information in Lexis Advance or Law 1. For such situations, we have prepared a document below which will tell you where to look. In this video, we've covered how to find the assent and commencement dates of an Australian Act, historical versions, and its amendment history. If you have any questions, contact us on the library homepage.